Welcome to Break Everything. Your host, Lisa L. Levy, will guide you through critical thought conversations and a journey of directed disruption that makes a difference. Experience bold conversations with industry leaders who are willing to challenge the status quo.
Hello and welcome. Today, my guest is Char McCreadie, and we will be recording this show and sharing it on YouTube, LinkedIn, Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, Stitcher, Spotify, and oh, so many more. But we're here to have a conversation today, and it's an overcomer story that will take you on the ride of your life with a lifetime of lessons. Warrior, fighter, veteran, thriving survivor, champion, speaker, leader, published author, and mobile entrepreneur. Char served in Desert Shield and Storm and is a 9/11 Pentagon survivor and part of the first decade of women to graduate from the U.S. Air Force Academy with an officer commission. She received 3 master's degrees through the U.S. Air Force Institute of Technology non-resident program. As the leader of Warrior Woman, Char helps entrepreneurs create greater freedom and success by connecting with their inner warrior using her 3-step transformational system. Using her diverse background, blended with her real-life warrior experience and healing journey, she offers practical steps to help others live a courageous life in bold humility, mixed with humor and fun too. Currently, Char is the owner of Fly Far with Char and founded Warrior Women Worldwide. She is a tsunami wave of positivity, and her goal is to live full-time on the beaches of the world. Hold a spot for me. While she holds many educational degrees, she's all about ensuring women get their PhD in life with an MBA, massive bank account, while empowering their inner warrior to look and feel their best so that they can dream, design, and live their ultimate life every day of their life. The warrior mindset and power tools aren't just for soldiers, they're for all. And after all, Wonder Woman is not a fictional character. Char, thank you so much for being here with me today.
You're welcome. Thank you so much, Lisa, for having me. I'm super excited.
Absolutely. This, right, is Break Everything in Healthcare. And in your bio and your background, my listeners and watchers are probably going, I'm not quite sure what we're here to talk about today. But it's not the first time I've set them up with something that didn't make sense overtly at the very beginning. What I'd like to start with is, Char, tell us a little bit about your story and that connection to medicine and healthcare, and bring us into the story with you.
Okay, sounds great. So I always had a dream of 2 different things. 1, to be a doctor, 2, to be a pilot. And I felt called at age 6 to go pursue a career in the United States Air Force. And I looked at all the services and all those things. I was recruited by every military academy available in the United States, and Air Force was my passion. Now, fast forward, after all of the schooling, all of the things there, I did actually get to fly eventually, but not first. I got my career start in medicine in the military and began in emergency medicine. I started just like a medical technician, running 911, ambulances, doing some work on the side, outside of the military in my private time as well, because I really wanted to understand what that career was like. Ended up spending over 2 decades in trauma and emergency medicine, as well as a nursing technology integrator and clinical teacher, and to include assignments on the big committees in Washington, D.C. as well.
Absolutely fabulous. And, in your roles, what are the things that give you the most joy?
Ooh, really for me, especially now after all these years, but it was always fun for me to watch a patient when they got something for themselves and they lit up and went, oh, I got it now. And at that moment, I feel like, anyone in the clinical realm understands that patient now maybe is going to take a better turn and have a better experience with themselves, because whatever needed to connect finally did for them. And that's what I love about anything I do, whether it's health related or not now.
And absolutely, those are aha moments, right? Are those connection points in time. And in healthcare, for a patient, right, those moments matter because they're understanding what's happening within their body or to their body in a way that when we don't understand those things, we're screwed, right?
Yeah, pretty much. Yeah, that's the American phrase, right?
we're just sort of screwed, and lack of power, knowledge, and understanding just sort of hamstring us.
Yeah.
So, Char, let's talk a little bit about you've spent your years in the military. That was an entire career. And then you've had some life-changing events in your own world that have sparked other parts of your journey. So keep going.
Oh, yeah. Well, you're absolutely right. I'm actually August 1st of this year, I'll have been retired 15 years from the military. How did that happen? I'm only 29 and holding,
It's amazing how we can compress those years when we want to.
Right. We get pretty efficient at a lot of things as we go through life. And so actually, while I was in the thick of my medical journey, I got to deal with cancer. And I can say that now. At the time, it really stunk. It sucked pretty bad. But it was almost a 20-year journey. And it was in that time, I was still in the emergency medicine realm practicing. And I just believed inside of me that there were other ways that the military wasn't offering. They weren't supporting, they didn't believe in systematically at that time. And so I began to just look for other healing modalities. And I am happy to say that I have now been cancer-free for 10 years and 6 months. And I never once chose the traditional route because for me personally, I just do not feel like that was the right decision. And in that experience, felt like I went back to medical school all over again. And I've learned so many things. I've met some amazing different style clinicians that are trained differently, that have taught me. And now that is one of the things I incorporate in what I do. Now, funny enough, I've always had a fairly reasonable lifestyle, not too crazy on one side or the other, though you would never guess that from my hair, right? The hair is a result of that cancer journey because I battled so long. And so when it grew back, Mom was like, you know what? I'm just going to support the brand and show people that you can thrive in your surviving, not just get by, right? And 20 months ago, I had another crazy thing really come out of left field and kind of literally whacked me upside the head. I had a brain tumor that grew to be the size of an orange, that big, that took over the whole right side of my head, this whole side, internally. Okay. And I didn't have any symptom until about 10 days before it literally killed me.
It literally killed you.
Yeah. Yep. Right upstairs from where I'm recording with you right now. My daughter, who happened to not be at work or on set that day, found me. I'm an early riser. I work out in the morning. I'm still very regimented, much like the military, because that's what works for me. And I hadn't moved since the evening of the night before, and it was now going on 2 p.m. And so she came to check on me and found me literally on the floor in my bedroom, dead, called 911. We later then learned from an MRI that I had a brain tumor that had taken over my head.
Okay, so that is not only life-changing, I mean, and that was life-ending, and then you have a whole nother journey coming back from that.
Yep, absolutely. 1,000,000%.
And let's talk through that journey, because I think that probably starts to tie into some of the things that you're doing now.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, you're right. Absolutely. So I've literally just been focused. That was October 2020. Blessed by many miracles in this journey. So please understand, for the viewer, don't take anything lightly in the synopsis. There was many miracles that happened in this journey that I get to be actually sitting here totally functioning, other than a little bit of memory loss from time to time, and having a conversation. This I couldn't do in October or November or December of 2020. I'd lost my vision in that process for a short amount of time. And understand, for a pilot qualified person, I had natural born vision of 20/5 my whole life, uncorrected. And so now I have these fancy little things that I have to use from time to time, a new journey for me, which is life-changing because it's just so very different. And the habits, you have to redevelop your habits. And so I dedicated all of last year to myself. just getting myself back. I just believed and knew in my spirit that if I did all the things that I knew to do, sought to learn new things about what was going on in the chemistry of my body, that I was going to make a comeback. And so I'm happy to say that that's, I've been blessed in that, and I have a great new respect for healthy regimens, and I'm working out and I'm competing in some short running races, which I never have done before. I'm getting back into bodybuilding, which is something I did one in my younger years during my off seasons, and yeah. So I just teach people through what I've been through, all the things that I've learned that I was not taught in school.
And there are so many things that you weren't taught in school.
Yes.
And it transcends industries, right? I mean, from a business perspective, what we don't learn about in a formal MBA, right, that you learn on the fly in medical school, that you don't learn about actually treating and working with patients, and and all, and how that all interacts. Let's talk about the Warrior Woman Manifesto and what you're building now as the lead warrior woman.
Okay. So thank you for that. So it is my manifesto, and if it's okay with you, I'd love to offer that as a free gift today to all of your viewership, and I can get that to you, be easy downloadable link. But the manifesto is a result of part of my mental health care that I did for myself in this journey. And when I'm saying I'm looking at myself right in the mirror, just like I'm looking at you right now, I got in my own face to remind me of, as a creative divine being, who I was. Because when you're recovering from something so life altering, man, it can get to you. In the quiet of your own head, the most dangerous neighborhood ever to be, right? Don't go there by yourself. And so I created this manifesto, and it was what I just said to myself in conversation, convicted conversation, every morning and every night. And in this process have realized that as I talk to people and meet more people, I believe most of us have a divine warrior right inside here, but we don't encourage him or her to come live full time on the outside of our life, and the power that can provide in the daily living of our life. And so that's where the manifesto was born. And I just love to give that to people. And if you come to our workshop that Lisa and I'll be doing on the 28th of July in Arizona, I'm going to teach you more about how you can incorporate and use that tool in your life as well.
That is going to be so much fun. And we'll pair that with my innovation engine, and between taking care of your personal self and how to drive your business forward, we're going to do some crazy, wild things. The timing of this last healthcare challenge, and I guess challenge is probably too soft of a word, but you were dealing with this during COVID era. So you were isolated, I am assuming, from your family while you were recovering through some of this. No.
I was not, surprisingly enough.
Okay.
So I had a fascinating experience because, of course, during COVID era, I was very interested on the inside of the hospital, since I don't work there regularly any longer. I work, independently, more contract ad lib style. And I thought this is going to be an interesting adventure. And again, I feel like it was one of those miracles, because we just didn't have any of those types of symptoms or reactions in our family unit ever at all. Still to this day, have not. We do have good health practices in what we do in our daily life, but I don't know if it was because of the fact of how it happened and how I came in through the ER or what. I just feel like it was a divine covering where I got to have one family member every single day come see me, and they could stay they literally just let them stay and visit with me. And of course, at first, until we got the tumor out of my head, I couldn't talk very long. I was pretty much comatose. But afterwards, it was a different story. And I felt like I just had a very positive experience in the hospital setting, when it was not, in general, a very good time to be a hospitalist at any realm, any discipline at all. And then I was there for 10 days. Yeah, got out, came in October 1st, got out October 10th. And miraculously never needed but one outpatient follow-up appointment to this day.
Absolutely unbelievable. So during that, and I know that in your speaking, you talk about, crossing into heaven.
Mm-hmm.
So let's explore that a little bit. So I would describe you from your educational background, right? A scientific mind, a logical systems thinker, and crossing into heaven doesn't necessarily correlate with that description. So, right, we are all complex and multidimensional, right? There's more to life. It's not black and white, and it's not, we have multiple dimensions. Let's talk about crossing into heaven and what that meant to you.
Oh yeah. Well, there was 2 episodes, one during the cancer years, the second one during the brain tumor time. And, when the first experience was very visceral for me, and I was in a place where I'd battled for 18 and a half years, everyone. It was a long time to be sick while being a parent, while being in the military. 9/11 had happened in that time. I was stationed at the Pentagon on that day. A lot had happened. And I was pretty tired of being on the planet, to be honest. And it was the first time in my entire life I had ever contemplated suicide before that event. And then it was just, I was not doing well in the hospital. I sent my family home, and the doctors were pretty sure that that was going to be the night that I would pass on. And, God decided otherwise. So I got a sneak peek of what heaven is like. And let me just tell you, it's amazing. Like, I didn't want to come back. And, it brings me to tears even now, because it was so, we don't have the words to describe. It just was this whole feeling of no worry and all joy in a very tangible way, not just emotional, happy kind of way. It was very deep and very profound. And so I got to see the heavenly realms for myself and went, wow, okay, so this really is here. That was my first experience. And I came back, and I talk about that and help people that have had family members or themselves with similar experiences, those types of things. I've met a lot of people since then have had a similar experience, because for a while I thought I was crazy. I had a lot of brain fog from cancer. It was not a good place. You kind of wonder sometimes what's really going on up in that place called the head.
Yes.
And then come back around to the brain tumor. We figured it out after talking to my neurosurgeon that it was probably about 3/4 of the way through surgery when I had a Holy Spirit experience again. And I remember fighting, like I was resisting something, but not like punching or boxing, but just resisting. And when I finally settled, there was this whisper, Char, Char. And I settled down and realized that I was tethered on my wrists and my ankles, and this enormous, I'm going to call it a cloth because I don't know what other English word to use, was, taller than me, wider than me. And I was trying to figure out what's going on. And he says to me, that represents prayer. Everyone in the world that heard about your case, that's who's praying for you right now. It's currency up here. You are loved. You're going to make it. And then I woke up in the recovery room.
That is a powerful story.
Yeah.
And life-changing, certainly.
Absolutely.
Yeah. And something, I guess, do you derive strength from that?
I do. And the strength is really more from peace. There is an unexplainable peace that I feel in my beingness because of those experiences. I don't fear the things of like, do I get fearful sometimes, like a fear of the unknown? I haven't done that yet, or I don't know how to do that yet. Yes, I'm just as human as the next. But in the overall big picture, I just know that if I wake up tomorrow, that's a blessing called a gift. That's why we call it the present. And I picture a beautifully wrapped present with the most exquisite ribbon bow on it that I can imagine. And I work hard to treat my day like that because it might be all I get.
There have been, and this is just totally off the top of my head, Char, I'm sorry, go with me for a second. There's a movement that there are people out there that say, live life like you're dying. And there's a counter argument out there that I've heard, that, when you are in a situation where you are dying, right, it is painful, right? This is not a model that we want to wrap our arms around and say, live every day like you're dying. We want to live every day like we're living.
Mm-hmm.
For people who are struggling with life and business and health and, physical or mental challenges, how do you keep the momentum going when life is throwing those curveballs at you?
Yeah, that's such a great question. I feel like it is applying to everyone of all ages and backgrounds right now in a way that maybe prior to 2.5 years ago would have been maybe a little different answer. I think most importantly, I have a kind of a third spin on that saying that you just mentioned
Okay.
is that was shared with me. And yesterday is a canceled check. So if you know how to write a check, I know a lot of our young people don't know what those are because we don't use them so much anymore, right? But if you write a check and it gets cashed by the recipient, okay, it's canceled, it's done,
Yep.
right? And tomorrow is a promissory note. We hope that there will be tomorrow, but we don't know. So all we have is today in the moment. And I think so much of these things that we deal with and the pressure and the weight and the heaviness is because our mind stays fully busy on either something that happened yesterday or something we're hoping for in the future, and we're not fully present right now. And when we can work on that as a starting point to be fully present, knowing that all I could do today for right now was find a new internet connection and make sure I could connect with you.
Yes.
Right? Whatever happened before I got here doesn't matter anymore because it's done. And I don't know about what's going to happen. I'll worry about that and deal with it when I get there. And so that's a practice I put in place for myself. And when I feel that emotional weight that begins to stir up, I can recognize many times that my mind is running amok. And I just have to dial in those thoughts and be present here only, and only do what's in front of me.
And that is a beautiful, and there, I have a phrase, I love elegance and simplicity, right? So the phrase is being present. That is simple, it is elegant, and it is something that we, especially in American culture, I think,
Yes,
are very bad at.
absolutely. I have an example. Can I share that?
Sure.
So a few years ago, I went over to help a business partner. We were opening in Taiwan, and had an incredibly cool experience. I had never been there. I love to travel and experience the world. And so I became kind of befriended this restaurant owner that was across the street and around the corner from where we were staying for the first half of our month-long trip. And so I would go there a lot because they were a local family. They were friendly. They were kind. I clearly look nothing like them, especially with hot pink hair. And there was no judgment on his part. And so we got to this little friendship talking back and forth. And he asked me one day, he goes, I have a question for you. He goes, why are you Americans so mean and nasty and unhappy all the time? You come over here, you spend your money, and we love tourism because that's our industry primarily. But you're not like that. How come? Wow, did I get a lesson out of that? Because the perception of our culture and this not being present, as you say, would just rush, 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 go, 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 had been also a very real experience for him as a business owner that serves tourists. It was so profound for me. And I really worked to, bring that with me everywhere because he was right. And I think it's just all of these pieces of my journey that have taught me that, and that it's important to me. So I work on it. I want to always show up as my best and learn who you are, the new person in front of me, and give you the same chance that someone gave me. And so, I don't know, maybe it changed my spirit and how I show up.
I think that that's outstanding, and we should be present in every moment, because when we're hoping for that something in the future, right, we're missing out what's happening.
Yeah.
I'm missing out on what's happening. And I think, as you were talking, I think through those things with family, those hopes and dreams we have for our children, right? And where we push all of this expectation BS, right? We're pushing it out there. And it's like,
Yes.
we really need to not do those things. And I'm sorry, that was like totally not directly on topic, but I think it's an American thing that we do. And it just sort of
Yeah,
disrupted
I
my
agree
train of
completely.
thought.
Yeah.
Disrupted my train of thought. So I thought we'd go there for a sec. With your work, right? You have formal training in Western medicine. You have pursued and done lots of education on alternative, more holistic elements of health and wellness and well-being. With the work that you're doing and the needs of your clients, what are some of those challenges on the immediate horizon that you're trying to address and deal with?
Oh, wow. That's a really great and loaded question for sure. So what I realized for myself, just through, you hear things from your friends and family and your clients and patients, and I live pretty as loud as my hair. I just know, because it's a gift to me, and I better give it my all today. If it is my final day, I'm going to give it everything I got. And if I get tomorrow, man, I'm going to be just as excited tomorrow, because it's a gift. It's that present. And so I really work to help people heal whatever it is for them and get them the resources, if I cannot provide that service, from the inside out. Because I have learned for myself, when I feel good about inside, I then see the outside of my physical being better. And when I feel good about that, then the way I experience the world around me is way, way, way more positive than the opposite. So my tagline is, look better, feel better, and experience your best life every day of your life, the ultimate lifestyle.
Yes.
So that's what I try to do. I want to give people hope by my example, the way I live, and the services that I can offer with my knowledge and experience, that there is a way to do that. And we all just have a different bumpy road that we have to decide to navigate and participate in our own rescue.
Fantastic conversation, Char. You have done some amazing things, right? Just looking at your life, right? At 6 years old, wanting to know that you want to fly, that you want to be in medicine. I didn't pursue it, but from an age range perspective, I'm surprised you didn't fly Navy, because we had the Top Gun influence at a certain point, right? When you would have been making decisions.
Oh yeah, no, that was it very much was an influence. I just didn't want to be on the water all the time. That's why I didn't go Navy.
There we go. Okay.
Well, that's a valid question.
Right. I was thinking through that. I was doing that in my head going, I'm guessing.
Yep. I went in the service right after that movie came out.
Absolutely. That was influential. With my guests, one of the most fun questions that I have to ask is my summary, this final build up to the magic wand. I love the magic wand idea. And I wish I had something that I could give to you, but I don't know how to give it through the screen. But this magic wand is very powerful. There you go. You've got something. It is very powerful, and it will remove all constraints and allow you to do any one thing that you want to do for the healthcare industry, the medical profession. What is the one thing that you would do?
All right. I'm going to choose my words as best as I can, not trying to offend anyone at all. And I have a strong feeling about this question and the answer. I absolutely would ensure that it is a true, transparent, integrous, collaborative environment that looks at the body as a whole from the beginning and makes all options available to the patient for them to choose.
That is probably the most complete, simple answer that is incredibly complicated to make real.
Right.
Right. I mean, but it's right. Everybody should have access to what they need, because they need it, how they need it. And wow, I told you to swing big. And I love that is it, because isn't that all we could possibly ever ask for? And my question is, why did it get so difficult to get there?
Oh, girlfriend, you know what? I agree with you. And I'm so passionate there because my answer represents my patient journey. If I had only followed one thing that was made available to me in a very narrow road, I would not be a living being here talking with you today. And I know that for sure. So I believe that that is the answer, and that there is a time. Trust me, I was grateful that we could call 911 when my daughter found me, and she could do that and know that an ambulance with personnel and equipment would get there because I needed it at that moment.
Oh, you needed it hours before that moment, I'm assuming, based on
sure, right?
And,
so grateful for that, but that wasn't the long-term answer.
Yeah. And in your journey, you had to fight and self-educate and self-inform to be able to get the care and the type of care that you needed for you. That isn't the traditional standard of care.
Correct. And I was grateful that one of my jobs, actually two of them in the military, I became a professional trained medical patient advocate. And those skills, I use them in the military, but never, ever in my wildest dreams thought I would use them for myself in the way that I ended up doing. And so I'm grateful. Those
skills are invaluable. And sadly, right, most people would not know how to do that. And I am grateful to the universe that you had the skills and that knowledge to be able to take care of yourself. And I wish that we didn't have to be able to do those things.
Agreed.
Char, I have enjoyed our time together so much. This is wrapping up the show. Thank you, Char McCreadie, for being here with us.
Thank you.
And for those of absolutely my pleasure. The podcast is available on YouTube, LinkedIn, Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, Stitcher, Spotify, and anywhere else that you listen to your podcasts. Thank you so much for being here. We're done.
Fantastic. We'll see you next time. And on July 28th, come to our workshop. Lisa and I are going to have a good time.
Absolutely fantastic.
You have just experienced Break Everything with Lisa L. Levy. Critical conversations on directed disruption that makes a difference.